In 2021, the documentary A Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed, approached the subject of Bigfoot in a way that felt different from most portrayals. Rather than focusing on debate, ridicule, or the demand for proof, the film centered itself on people, on witnesses, and the experiences that stayed with them long after the encounter ended. A Flash of Beauty is not a documentary about solving the mystery. It is a documentary about listening. Across North America, the film presents accounts from hunters, hikers, researchers, and everyday people who describe brief, unexpected moments in the wilderness. Moments that did not fit easily into what they believed was possible. The encounters shown are rarely dramatic. There are no prolonged chases, no clear footage, and no final answers. Instead, the documentary highlights something quieter, fleeting experiences that last seconds, leave no physical trace, and yet alter how witnesses understand the forests they once considered familiar. What makes A Flash of Beauty stand out is its refusal to tell the audience what to think. It does not ask viewers to believe, nor does it attempt to disprove. It simply presents patterns, recurring themes of awareness, presence, and sudden stillness, and allows the weight of those shared experiences to speak for itself. This episode of Forest Evidence Files is inspired by that approach. It does not revisit the documentary's footage, nor does it attempt to retell its stories. Instead, it uses A Flash of Beauty as a starting point, a lens through which to examine why so many Bigfoot encounters are described not as frightening or aggressive, but as brief moments of recognition. This episode is not about evidence collected after the fact. It is about experience and what remains when certainty fails. For decades, the question surrounding Bigfoot has been framed in simple terms. Is it real or is it not? But this question assumes that the mystery exists only to be solved, that it must arrive clearly, stay long enough to be documented, and leave behind proof that fits neatly into expectation. What if that assumption is wrong? This episode is not about evidence collected after the fact. It is about moments, brief, unrepeatable moments, that change how people understand the wilderness they thought they knew. Across North America, thousands of individuals report encounters that last only seconds. There is no chase, no confrontation, and no dramatic conclusion. Instead, there is movement at the edge of awareness, a figure crossing a clearing, a shape standing where nothing should be standing, and then silence. What is striking about these accounts is not how extraordinary they sound, but how ordinary they begin. Many witnesses describe being alone, engaged in routine activity, hunting, hiking, checking a fence line, walking a familiar trail. These are not people searching for an experience. They are people interrupted by one. One account often shared comes from a lifelong hunter who had spent decades in the same forest. He knew the terrain immediately. He knew how light moved through the trees. He knew the difference between animal movement and wind. And late in the afternoon, while watching a clearing he had watched countless times before, something shifted. Not suddenly, not aggressively, but deliberately. He described seeing a tall, dark figure standing partially behind the tree line. It did not charge. It did not flee. It simply stood, aware. What unsettled him most was not fear, but recognition, the sense that he was being observed in return. After only a few seconds, the figure stepped backward into the trees and disappeared. The hunter did not follow. He packed his gear and left quietly. Later, He would say the moment felt complete, as though continuing would have been a violation. Another account comes from two hikers walking a trail they had traveled many times before. Midway through the hike, the forest went unnaturally still. No birds, no wind. As they rounded a bend, one of them stopped. Across a ridge partially obscured by trees stood a tall, dark shape, upright, motionless. They watched as it slowly turned its head, not its body, and then stepped backward uphill with surprising ease, disappearing into the cover. Neither hiker spoke until they were well clear of the area. Later, both would describe the same feeling, not terror, but acknowledgement, the certainty that whatever they had seen was aware of them. Other accounts come from people living at the edges of wilderness, families who dismiss strange sounds for years until one evening, at dusk, something moves between trees in a way that does not match any known animal. What lingers is not size or strength, it is presence. Across these stories, details vary: distance, lighting, duration, but the emotional language remains remarkably consistent. Witnesses pause. They struggle to describe what they felt. Many describe calm rather than fear. Encounters are brief. They risk repetition. They leave little physical trace, but a lasting psychological imprint. What emerges is not the image of a creature waiting to be captured, but of something glimpsed and then gone. Forests are ancient systems, places where sound bends, depth deceives, and scale becomes unreliable. Even experienced outdoorsmen acknowledge that certainty weakens in these environments. This does not invalidate the experiences. It contextualizes them. In modern investigation, experiences that leave no physical evidence are often dismissed outright. Yet in other fields, psychology, anthropology, and environmental science, patterns of testimony are considered meaningful when they recur across time and geography. Human perception is imperfect, but it is not meaningless. What is often overlooked is the cost of these encounters. Many witnesses never speak publicly. Others wait years. Some never tell anyone at all. The fear of ridicule, disbelief, or dismissal keeps these experiences private. This silence creates the illusion that such encounters are rare. They are not. They are simply quiet. In this context, Bigfoot is not presented as a creature demanding belief. It is presented as a question that resists containment. Something that appears briefly, avoids repetition, leaves no trace, and does not behave as expected. This does not confirm a biological entity, but it does confirm something else. That mystery has not disappeared. It has retreated to places where certainty does not reach easily. This episode is not a conclusion. It is a pause. Because when something reveals itself only briefly, refuses documentation, and leaves no proof behind, the question shifts. It becomes less about existence and more about experience. And sometimes that fleeting moment of awareness, that interruption of certainty, is a flash of beauty. The forest holds many stories. New case files will follow. File remains open.